What percentage of the property had tree damage?
10,000 trees down on the property.
Hello, welcome to this update from Western North Carolina. In this video, we're going to take a look at the NC Arboretum. This footage was captured between December 2024 and March of 2025. My name is Dominic Tavernitti. I live in Black Mountain, and since Hurricane Helene, I've been filming both the impact of the storm as well as our recovery. I hope you enjoy this video. So we're going to start with a view from the sky here. We're facing south here, and this is the French Broad River. And then the Blue Ridge Parkway up high running into the Smokey Mountains, and Brevard Road here down below. And as we pan to face west, we are now looking towards the Arboretum. Now let's switch over to a map and I'll show you where this is. So we can see Asheville up here, and the Arboretum is down here. Now if we turn the terrain on and we take a look at this area, I'm going to highlight this ridge, which was significant for the Arboretum, not so much as a watershed and water damage, but because the wind was heaviest when it was flowing east to west, and it really funneled into this area. And when we get into the Arboretum, we'll see some areas of severe tree damage. And that's the entrance road going into the Arboretum there. And now we're turning to face north. That's Brevard Road. We can see Asheville up here. And the French Broad River is flowing north at this point. Now, if you're coming south on Brevard Road, you would take a right here, continue sweeping around to the left to get on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and then straight here to go into the Arboretum. I'm going to flip over here quickly to the Blue Ridge Parkway just to show the condition. You can see on this map there's quite a bit of the parkway that's still closed. If we scroll into the Asheville area, you can see where you would be getting onto the Blue Ridge Parkway here is still closed. But this section here in the Asheville area is still open. So between here and here, now this is a really pretty area if you haven't been into the NC Arboretum. I'll share a bit of the history of it here in just a moment. You can see some of the tree damage up here. And from the air, these aerial views, it's really kind of difficult to pick out the down trees among the leaning and broken trees, but we'll do some footage from on the ground and on the trails just to show how much damage there was. So the Arboretum does not cover this entire area in here. It goes here from the left and up on the kind of the ridge there to the left. And here we're going to pan up and look out to the Asheville area. So here's a quick overview of the Arboretum from their website. It's about 434 acres of public garden. It is located on the Bent Creek Experimental Forest, and let's see, it was established as an affiliate of the University of North Carolina, assembled in 1986. It is located on the land within Pisgah National Forest and is operated under a use permit by the National Forest in North Carolina. So kind of an interesting spot, but a carve out from Pisgah National Forest to put this up. Now here's a model inside the visitor center, which I thought was great. It's a topographical model, so you get a better sense of the flat map and how it lays out. Now you can go online and get a PDF, or if you're at the visitor center, you can pick up a physical copy of this when you go to the Arboretum. Let's flip over here to the PDF. So before entering the property, I flew the drone up the entrance here. You're going to drive up this direction, and then this is the main visitor center, and the greenhouse is up here. So let's take a look at some of these trails. This is kind of an access road, as well as one you can walk all of these trails in here, Hard Times Trail, and that's really goes the perimeter up on that hillside. And then the property line is just on the other side of Frederick Law Olmsted Way, and it's gonna be ending just out here. But these trail systems all through this area had tree damage and needed to be cleaned up. One of the heaviest hit areas, and we'll take a look at some of that, I'll point it out when we get to the footage, was right on this area, which is kind of a knoll, sticks up a little bit, so all of the high trees really got hit hard. There's some great resources here in the Arboretum. Showing some of the biodiversity, the animals and trees and birds and things that you can see. So now we're going to take a look at some of the cleanup, and there have been crews working in the Arboretum since October, just after the storm. Of course, the storm hit September the 27th of 2024, and these crews have had quite a bit to do. You will see these piles of chipped wood and debris all throughout the Arboretum. Here it started, even though it was cold out here in December, you can see the steam coming off of that from microbial activity. And if we look close, you see some of those stumps and root balls and trees down in there. And it's just amazing, some of the force of the wind cracking some of these trees in half. Now, I spoke with the head horticulturalist at the Arboretum, and he said a lot of these trees are down, and they're going to be doing some replanting. He did point out, though, that it's not old growth forest. There was a lot of logging, 100 years ago, even more recent, and then we'll touch on the blight of the American chestnut here in a moment. We'll go through a little bit of this. I just put on a time lapse with a camera and climbed through, and what's really hard to see is where there would be a trail, and what I'm attempting to do there is stay on a trail, and you can just see how many trees are down and how much damage there was. Now, all of this has since been cleaned up. Much of this was filmed around December, January, and the crews working there did an amazing job of cutting all of this up. So this right here, we're going to take a look at a before and after. This area is on that knoll that I described, and you'll see just how many trees had fallen in this area. So this is kind of a bit of a hilltop, so it was hit with the wind pretty hard. And most of these tall trees, white oak, maple, pine, and others came down. Of course, there was a bit of a domino effect. Once a large one falls on another one, all of the soil was very saturated at that time. We had rain for several days. Then when the storm hit, we continued to have heavy rain, but then the wind as well. So a lot of those trees, the root balls were pretty wet. So here we are later. I don't know the date of this, but those crews had cleaned this area entirely up. You see how much cleaning they really did. You can probably date this from when snow was on the ground. We had several snow come several times over the winter. So this is what you probably will see until the Arboretum decides what to do with all this wood. Tree trunks like this are just too big to chip up, so they're stacked throughout the forest, and I'm sure they'll be able to put them to good use. Now we're going to take a look at a video that the Appalachian Storyteller just recently put out. If you're not familiar with that YouTube channel, I have a link to the channel as well as this video. And they just put out this video on the American chestnut. I thought it was really interesting, and I don't think you can really talk about the forests in this area and how they've transformed without understanding the history of the American chestnut. I know that Hurricane Helene did a tremendous amount of damage, but when you watch this short segment, you'll see that there was a really big impact just from the blight that took those trees out in this region.
The Appalachian Mountains, one of the most magical places in America. Few places can compare to the beauty of the trees and the fall as they reveal their true colors. And each spring, when they're reborn, there are over 158 different species of trees that number in the billions in these mountains, the most diverse ecosystem in America. Tragically, there's one tree that's missing from this ecosystem, and just 100 years ago, it was the king of these mountains. And that tree was the American chestnut. That's right. Just 100 years ago, the chestnut tree made up 25% of all the trees in Appalachia. And on the virgin mountaintop ridges, nearly 100% of the trees were chestnut, towering at over 130 feet tall and over 30 feet in diameter. These trees lived to be up to 800 years old. They were the giants of the forest. All of the animals and the people of those mountains depended on this tree for its plentiful bounty of chestnuts each fall, and for the medicinal properties found in its leaves and its bark and its lumber to build their homes, barns, fences, and bridges. It was rot resistant and lasted hundreds of years. Suddenly, in just a few short years, all the chestnuts were gone. All 4 billion of them. The natives referred to the chestnut as the grandfather of the forest. The Cherokee Indians referred to it as the bread tree because they ground the nuts into flour for bread making. Frantically, scientists all over the world began studying this unknown fungal pathogen, and that's when they discovered it originated in China. For some reason, the Chinese trees had built up an immunity to this blight. However, the American chestnut had never been exposed to it, and it had no resistance. Every tree that was infected was doomed. The blight continued to sweep further north and south throughout the Appalachian Mountains. Scientists, they couldn't stop it. The blight traveled all across the mountains like a wildfire, and by 1950, every chestnut tree in Appalachia was dead. All 4 billion of them.
So if you haven't seen the Appalachian Storyteller, I highly recommend you go check that channel out, as well as watch the full video that he did. It was very informative on those trees. Now I'm going to cut back to, I believe this was in early January, just to show a little bit more of the Arboretum and what you can see. They put out a lot of lights, and at nighttime you can drive through and see all the lights up and walk through some of the gardens. It's really beautiful. I can't recall the parade of lights or what they call this event. Not all of the lights from years past are up. They're usually lit up driving into the Arboretum, but those trees, those lines had been broken and trees were down, so those weren't up this year. Here in the greenhouse over the winter time, they do a bonsai exhibit, which is great. And then I believe those are out elsewhere on the property when it's no longer winter. I thought this was neat. There's a kaleidoscope they're using, just looking down at some of the succulents. It's great how beautiful something natural like this is. Well, if you haven't been, I think the Arboretum is a place worth going. I think it's maybe $20 to park and free to walk in. It's a wonderful place. It's a great resource here. We're incredibly thankful that those trails have gotten cleaned up. I know that they have a little bit more to do. Well, I have some more videos coming out very shortly if you're interested in seeing our recovery from Hurricane Helene. Next up is another update on Swannanoa. And I've recently done an interview with a friend and business leader in the area, Jamie Gilpin, and that should be coming out in the next day or so. If you don't want to miss those, please subscribe to the channel. I've also created a new website, seetheeffect.com, to capture some of the media and documentation that doesn't display well on YouTube. Again, if you go to seetheeffect.com, you can come take a look at some of these. Here's an example of what I've created thus far, and 3D models. So I've been using a drone and some technology to capture some of the buildings and structures around the area as they're starting to get destroyed, just so we can take a look at them in the future and see what happened and compare this in the future to the recovery that we're doing. Thanks so much.